KCAA.
And in color from the NBC News Radio Broadcasting Studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful, sunny California. Thanks for tuning into the Water Zone today. I'm Rob Starr, along with Mr. Chris Davey.
How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Always a busy week. Always a busy week. And you know what today is?
Thursday.
Well, yes. That's good.
The day before tomorrow.
I won't tell that you said
the day after yesterday.
You were trying to set the clock ahead earlier to get out of this. But do you know what today is, though?
I don't. No, yes, it's a surprise.
It's Chris Day.
No kidding.
We're going to have 3 Chris's on today.
Oh, Chris Starr.
No.
Okay.
You got the Maven,
Chris Austin,
you,
Chris Davey,
and Mr. Chris Butts from calling from Georgia. 3,000 miles away.
Right
we
on.
appreciate him doing that. Anyway, this is our busy season, aside from our normal day jobs work that we got to do.
Yep.
But there's lots of activities happening. For example,
tons.
You're doing a
on the 20th of October,
right.
Chino Basin Water District
Right.
is a conservation day. There, come out. It's a Chino Basin Water District in Montclair. All-day activities, and there's food, there's games, there's exhibits, and there's some...
And no beer.
No beer at all, like the island in the Pacific, the no beer at all.
Right. And on that same day, I'll be in Barstow.
You will.
For Mojave Desert Water, there's a water festival up there, and I have some classes to teach.
Good thing I used the two-headed coin to check in.
Yes, you did. You flipped for that one. And then on the 13th, we have the Upper San Gabriel Valley in Arcadia. That's going to be on the 13th.
That's right.
Also got
both of us will be there.
Yes, we got the Landscape Expo. That's going to be on 10th and 11th. Next week, we got the Southern Nevada Water, which we'll be broadcasting live from.
Next Thursday show.
Water Smart Innovations, and that's in Las Vegas. On October 22nd and 25th, we've got the American Water Works Association and Rancho Mirage. So aside from our normal stuff that we got to do and now our extra radio stuff, we're going to be busy.
Yeah, no moss growing on our shoes in October.
No, absolutely not. I did want to play this thing from Landscape Expo. I was with George Schmoke and Margot Boyer, who you know.
Yes, we know.
I was going to say intimately, but that's the wrong adjective.
Yeah, that would be the wrong thing.
Your wife would probably listen to the show, and you'll have to stay at my house tonight. Anyway, their organization, which is Landscape Communications, puts on the Landscape Expo show. It's a big deal.
Big deal.
I know Toro and on our affiliate companies, Irritrol and Unique, and everybody's going to be there. Mm-hmm. So we're also going to be there too, and doing some interviews. So George did a little commercial that we want to play up front because I promised to do that for him. So here we go.
Landscape Online.
There's a great event taking place on October 10th and 11th, the Landscape Expo at the Long Beach Convention Center. If you're a landscape professional, then you're invited to attend and visit an exhibit hall with over 200 companies spanning more than 4 acres of exhibits, or earn CEUs from 50-plus seminars and workshops. This October 10th and 11th at the Landscape Expo Long Beach, explore the Water Conservation Center featuring 6 on-point seminars and surrounded by the latest technology in conserving California's most precious resource. The Landscape Expo is also the best place to shop for trucks and tractors, with 6 major Southern California truck dealerships and 12 major brand equipment dealers, including Dodge, Chevy, Ford, Isuzu, JCB, John Deere, and dozens of commercial lawn care and arbor care equipment providers. Virtually all of the major brands of equipment you need as a landscape contractor or a maintenance professional. At the Landscape Expo, you'll also find every major irrigation brand, including the Toro and Irritrol product lines, as well as wholesale nurseries, outdoor tree care demonstrations, live equipment demos, and the all-new Landscape Design Center, featuring a full-size bocce court and dozens of design-oriented product vendors. There is a $20 entrance fee at the door, but if you register at landscapeonline.com before September 28th, we'll waive that fee, and If you plan on attending seminars, just type The Water Zone in the discount window and you'll receive 20% off all your seminars. Remember, the Landscape Expo, Wednesday and Thursday, October 10th and 11th at the Long Beach Convention Center. Visit landscapeonline.com for more information.
I want to officially welcome Landscape Communications as one of our sponsors.
Absolutely, welcome to them.
So we appreciate that. Hope they like the music.
It's a great audio spot for sure.
Do you know how many people made that?
One.
That was me and my synthesizers and all that stuff. And so that was fun. It was fun doing that. I actually finished it at like at 2:30 something in the morning, and then sent it over to the production people to integrate that into the commercial. So
that was awesome. It's your original score.
Yes. I guess I can charge them royalty. No,
I won't. I don't think so.
I'm not going to charge them royalty for that. They're good people, and please go to that. It's a great show every year. Anyway, so we're going to bring on one of our favorite people.
Somebody we've missed for the last few weeks.
Yeah, some due to us, and some due that she was busy. But if anybody has to go look about water news, they should go to this place. It's called MavisNotebook.com, and they got things. They have a front page which tells you what's happening today, latest posts, news by category, California Water 101, Water Management Toolbox, resource pages. It is the best place. We go there to get the water news.
Absolutely.
And
daily.
Yeah, you know what? I can get her on the phone, but I can't get Jerry Brown on the phone.
It's amazing.
So she's the best. Welcome, Chris.
Welcome. And isn't every day Chris Day?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. With all these Chris's, I told Rob he should change his name to Chris, and we could have the Chris 2 movement, So.
Exactly. All right. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a good day. It's been busy. We got a lot of stuff going on at work, and we just read at the beginning of all these other things that we do after work, but it's for the company, and it's for people to learn what's happening. And next week is going to be very exciting, which I can't tell you everything, but on next Thursday we'll make a special announcement of something special for the Water Zone, and so I hope our listeners are there. Are you going to that show?
No, I won't be. I have been to a lot of places the last few weeks.
No, I know you've been traveling.
Yeah, so I get to rest next week. I actually launched a big project last week. It's a website that I built to support implementation of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act.
Oh, good. I was going to talk to you about that today.
We have that on the list.
Yeah, so, and we have a page on there. I mean, it's kind of built for people who are, consultants and people who are really working in it, but it's also to help other people, regular people, get involved with this groundwater management implementation. And it's really important for communities that are, people in the communities that are going to be, in the basin subject to implementing this legislation to become involved, because water is such a big part of the community, and how water is going to be managed going forward in these basins that are subject to SGMA is going to impact the community in all sorts of ways. So everybody really needs to be involved. It's difficult in a way because groundwater isn't sexy, or you can't see it, and it's but it's one of those things that's going to impact the lives of the people who live in the basins that are subject to SGMA. So,
right.
Now there's a lot of basins in LA that are already adjudicated and managed really well. So it doesn't affect everybody in Southern California, but there are some areas that will be affected.
Well, up by the farmers. And just for clarification to our listeners, because we reference a lot of these little short acronyms. Yeah. And SGMA, which is SGMA, stands for Sustainable Groundwater Management Act.
Yes.
And it's just for our listeners. And if anybody has some questions, please do call in. We always try to let everybody call in and have their say. If you do call in, it's 888-909-1050, or if you're more local to us here in Riverside County, 909-792-5222. So, Chris, this is going to have a lot to do with farmers, too.
With what? I'm sorry?
The SGMA.
A lot to do with farmers.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, it really affects farmers, and they're really getting hit hard. Yeah. I really feel for the farmers, but the truth is that there isn't enough water to go around to be used in the way that we have been using it for these past 100 years, and everyone everywhere is going to kind of have to cut back somewhat. And, there just isn't enough to go around. And I think we are, unfortunately, overextended in agriculture. And some people are going to have to stop farming, or parts of their land are going to have to go fallow. And it's very difficult. They're very difficult decisions, and I feel for everybody. But the water isn't there. So it has to be dealt with. And
I know North Carolina right now has got an abundance of water.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be facetious about it. We had talked once before on the show, or many times, about oil pipelines going across the United States. Why can't they do that with water?
Well,
I'm just curious. I don't have the answer to that, but it's something I would ask somebody.
Well, yeah, it's really difficult, I think, to get people to agree to have large pipelines or large canals built across their state to carry water elsewhere. I mean, nowadays, there might have been a time decades ago when all the land wasn't owned, but now, everybody's doing something with their land, and bring the water from where? I mean, like Pat Mulroy had this idea that, they could take the floods off the Mississippi and siphon them over to Las Vegas. But that's a lot of states to go through, and that's a really expensive canal what states, there's not a lot of motivation, I think, for a state to allow it to get a big canal cut across it just for water to go somewhere else.
Well, I'm kind of you know me well enough. I'm kind of a crazy guy. Why couldn't they think about this, instead of going out and finding tons of land? Why don't they use the land that railroad trains are on? I'm not saying carrying it by trains, but build the tunnels above, so it follows the train tracks across the state. So you're really not taking any more land up, and you're not. It's just a stupid idea, but it's an idea.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would work, although, think about the engineering of having a canal going right next to a railroad. I mean, it would be, I think you'd have a lot of stabilization work to do. But, I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think the days of taking water from one area and sending it a long distance to another area, I think they're kind of over. I mean, I think we did that a while back, but now everybody wants their water. I really don't think, maybe they have floods on the Mississippi every so often, but not that much. But, moving water from one place long distances to another it's really controversial. Las Vegas wants to build a pipeline to take groundwater from central Nevada, right around Ely, and ship it down to Las Vegas. And it's a very unpopular project, except, of course, for Las Vegas.
Right.
But they just had a ruling, I believe, a court ruling against the project that Las Vegas is probably going to appeal. The Colorado River is drying up. Climate change is really affecting the Colorado River, and Nevada has a very small share of the Colorado River as it is, and there's really no hope for any improvement on that. So they're trying to think of where else they can go. And Las Vegas has really done a very good job with water conservation.
Absolutely.
They've been very progressive, but if people continue to move there, what do you do? you have to try and find water for them. So they want this water from central Nevada, and there are farmers in that area, and they sort of hearken to the Owens Valley story. And in a way, that's kind of it. I mean, they're going to dry up eventually, I would assume, dry up farms in that area because they're pumping the water south to Las Vegas.
Well, as you said, people are going to have to change. So we're never going to please 100% of the people anywhere. The state has to make these hard decisions. What are we going to do? So people are going to have to, as you said, sacrifice things. I don't see any other way of getting around that, given that the population and everything is going to grow. Where are we going to get the water from?
These adjustments they're very difficult, and they affect people's livelihoods. And I can't imagine what it would be like if you're a farmer and farming is all that you know, and now you're being told you can't farm your land. So what do you do? I don't know. That's really hard, and it's people's livelihoods. And but the flip side is that the water isn't there, and water efficiency is great, and it will only get you so far. If you're overextended, it's kind of like credit. If you're overextended, if your income you can't pay your bills, you've got a problem.
Right.
And we don't have the water for everybody to have all the water they need for what they want. And we have to leave something in the environment if we want to have any fish at all. So, these are such tough decisions.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I am so glad that I am not a farmer in the Central Valley, because there's a lot of pressure on that,
Well, I was hoping, we talked about the last couple of weeks, Chris and I and you, we were hoping to get the California gubernatorial candidates to come on. The only luck we've had before was to get Travis Allen, who is running for governor in the pre-voting. But I really want to hear what their vision is. What are we going to do? Everything you said is absolutely correct, but I don't hear somebody bringing solutions.
Yeah, and the governors coming in are, not really. I mean, when it comes to water issues, they don't really have very strong positions.
No.
I don't think they've really sat down and thought about it. They have general statements, but there is so much there. Although water is very important to the state of California, there are a lot of other things competing for the new governor's attention: transportation, infrastructure, affordable housing, health care. I mean, you name it.
But that all takes water, too.
Yeah.
All of those need water.
Oh, absolutely. But, as you're the governor coming in, you've got a lot of things on your plate. So hopefully we're going to, people are going to get in and start educating the governor, as soon as the new governor, whoever it is, gets in office.
Right.
Right. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We've been lucky. Schwarzenegger and Governor Brown, very active on water, and they knew what they were doing,
yeah.
and it was one of their major issues. Chances are we're not going to be that lucky with this next round, and maybe it's time for another, I don't know, they may have another focus, transportation, infrastructure, who knows.
Yeah, in commentary or in editorials that I've read, I've read more from Cox than I have from Newsom, for sure, on the water issue. That's that's just from my limited viewpoint.
Yeah, it's and Newsom has said that he is in favor more of a one tunnel option for the Delta instead of a two tunnel option, but at this point, I don't see where there's an entrance point for the legislature. What we have is a project going through the process of permitting and et cetera, and I don't think the governor can just step in and make such a change. I don't think that legally that space exists.
Yeah,
but,
Yeah, there are some California representatives that do have a bit of a water focus, right? Just Jerry McNerney, for example, he was the guy that authored the American Water Infrastructure Act of 2018, which, by the way, the House just passed last week.
Right.
So there are a few people focused on water. Yes.
Interestingly enough, like McNerney is focused on water, but he is against the tunnels. He represents districts in the Delta. Jeff Denham, who was also authored, part of that act, he's from the Central Valley, and he is the one that is pro, funding Temperance Flat. I believe that's the water storage portion that he got worked in there to build more dams, essentially, and also Denham has a rider. I think it's on the appropriations bill that would sort of hamstring the state's process right now to set water quality control standards in the San Joaquin River tributaries, which are tributaries to the Delta. Yeah. So they're kind of, there are so many facets to the water issue.
No kidding, there are. Well, I get that. I know that McNerney is he's in the 9th congressional district, so that's just portions of San Joaquin, also Contra Costa and Sacramento County. So, where his constituents lie.
Yeah, well, he's got to do that. So what's happening? Go ahead.
Oh, and he's representing his constituents, and
sure.
The Delta tunnels are very unpopular in that region for obvious reasons.
Yep.
So I understand that we're getting closer with the spillway to be completed on time?
Yeah, it's looking good that they're finishing up on the spillway.
Excellent.
It's been a long project, cost a bit more than what they thought. It's now, I believe, approaching $1 billion. Although if you look at the work that's been done, I don't know how surprising is that? If you look at everything that's been done, they built that whole big spillway out of the main chutes, and they also built a lot of construction on the emergency spillway off to the side. So there was a lot of work done. So about a week ago, the Department of Water, or 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, they let out the increased cost estimates, and to great shock to some people. But it's kind of like, well, if you look at the work that's been done, really, are you surprised?
Yeah,
I wasn't. I was surprised. Really, not up to $1 billion yet. They were like just under.
Chris, are you saying you were colored startled when you heard that?
Well, I was like, wow, cost savings more than, I figured it cost more than that.
Came in under budget.
That's a good thing. Anything else, either one, Chris?
Just on the, I'm a fisherman, so I'm interested in that, on the Mavis Notebook, the No Stone Unturned article. Little worlds inside the stream riffles and pools. I thought that was an excellent piece in there. Just a lot of information on details that weren't in previous articles I'd read about that. So that was interesting for me, Chris. Thanks for putting that up on the notebook. And then the last thing that in those couple of minutes.
That's why people should go to mavisnotebook.com.
Yeah, sure.
It's unbelievable amount of information.
I'm telling you, every time I go on there, it's like, wow, I thought I knew a lot about all this stuff, and I learned something new every single time. So it's very valuable. So hey, last question of the evening for you, Chris, is just the El Nino and La Nina and all that kind of stuff. So what's the latest there?
Well, they think there's an El Nino coming, so now's when we get to kind of figure out what's it going to mean. Sometimes it means wet, sometimes it means dry for us here in Southern California, sometimes it means mudslides. Everyone's always trying to guess, and so now everyone's kind of trying to figure out what happens now. It depends on where you live, and it depends on which way the El Nino swings. And for us here in Southern California, it's really a crapshoot what it will mean. Hopefully not, so much rain we have mudslides. But we've had some drought years, so,
Sure.
Hopefully we sure could use the mountains and the vegetation sure could use a nice big drink. So we'll hope that we get that, right?
Well, here in Southern California next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, in LA Basin and the Inland Empire, we're slated for some rain.
Wow, cool. Yeah, up here they're thinking maybe there might be some rain too. So would that be nice?
And we'll be in Vegas, and we're going to be betting on that. So, hey, Chris, thanks for being again on our show. You're more than welcome to call in next week. As I said, we're going to be broadcasting live. It's up to you. You're more than welcome to do that. Same number, same bat time, same bat channel. We do appreciate, again, you coming on every week. And for all the listeners, really go take a look at mavisnotebook.com. You're going to be everything you ever want to know about what's going on in this state with water. That's the best place to go. So, all right, we'll talk to you next week, and we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back with our next guest all the way from Georgia.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292FQ Riverside, and K293CF Moreno Valley.
If you knew there was a pipe cement that works better than the one you're currently using, is better for you and the environment, and costs the same or less, would you buy it? Oh, no-brainer, right? WeldOn, the trusted leader in solvent cements for over 60 years, is pleased to introduce a new line of solvent cements that does all that. Introducing the Eco Series line of solvent cements for PVC piping systems. Not only does it work great and set fast, it also has 30% lower solvent emissions and less smelly fumes, a better workplace environment when you're installing pipes. But don't just take our word for it. Eco Series products are the only solvent cements that are Green Seal certified for environmental innovation for effective performance, improved working conditions, and for use with potable water. Now available in a medium-bodied fast-setting blue formula, 905 Eco, and a regular-bodied fast-setting clear formula, 900 Eco. Pick up a can today from your local distributor and see, smell, and feel the difference, just like Joe Sweat, president of Sunrise Irrigation, did. He said, after using WeldOn's 905 Eco, we immediately noticed the application was smooth and there was noticeably less odor than other blue solvent cements on the market. The guys love it. To learn more about Eco Solvent Cements from WeldOn, visit the website at www.weldon.com or call the Technical Service Hotline at 877-477-8327. That's 877-477-8327.
Let's talk drought stress. No one likes burnt plants or grass, especially your customers. So, when it's hotter than a tin roof in Tallahassee, what are you going to do? Water the problem away? Not only does that abuse a vital resource, it's illegal in many cities. Here's a quick and easy solve that won't get you in trouble with Mother Nature or Johnny Law. Applied as a year-round program, Moisture Manager from Lesco supplements regular irrigation by attracting moisture to treated areas, thus making the moisture available to plant roots. This maintains wettability between waterings and rainfall, allowing soil to accept water as it becomes available, and making the water more accessible to the plant roots. Boom! More green, less watering, and a great new reason to see your customers on a recurring basis. With Lesco Moisture Manager and Site 1, high heat is no sweat.
Are you interested in free water-efficient appliances, native plant demonstration gardens, water tastings, raffle prizes, food trucks, and more fun activities? Well, Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District has the perfect event for the whole family. Stop by Waterfest on Saturday, October 13th at Arcadia County Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Waterfest is an annual water conservation event to celebrate our most precious resource and learn about the importance of water efficiency. Visit upperdistrict.org for event details. See you at Waterfest on Saturday, October 13th.
Hey, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone with Rob and Chris, and hope everybody's having a great day. And we have yet another Chris to join us on the airwaves, and we have all the way from the Peach Estate. I think I'm correct. A gentleman named Mr. Chris Butts, who is the executive director of the Georgia Green Industry Association. So, welcome, Chris, to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, we really appreciate it. Today we declared it was Chris Day because our first guest was Chris. Chris here sitting next to me, and now you. So we have 3 Chris's today.
All right, good deal.
So I guess we had to talk to your parents. They named everybody the same thing that year. They weren't creative. It's like what was that show where he says, "My brother Earl"?
No, I'm Earl. This is my brother Daryl. My other brother Daryl.
Yeah, the Newhart show.
The Newhart show. Yep. Here we go.
So anyway, a couple things. Can you provide first tell us about yourself and how you got to the Green Industry Association in Georgia?
Sure, it's a long story, but grew up in the industry. My parents were growers on the commercial grower in a retail garden center. My grandfather was head of the horticulture department at the University of Georgia. So from a young age, I was immersed in the industry. Yeah. I wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, my goal in life was to have a job where at the end of the day you didn't have to go home and take a shower. And so after college, I went and did some other things, and the green industry started to look a little bit better. So came back and ran the family business with my folks for a number of years. Was a volunteer board member of the Georgia Green Industry Association when we first started going through the first of several sequential droughts and worsening droughts, which eventually led to we lost about 40% of our nursery growers across the state. We ultimately decided to close our family business, and the Green Industry Association came to me and asked if I would have an interest in being a lobbyist for the association, which was something I'd never dreamed that I would be doing, but the cause was close to heart. And so the legal pad and a lot of nerves, I went to the Capitol for the first day of the session, and I've been doing it for 12 years ever since.
Wow. So if you tell our listeners what the function and mission of the Georgia Green Industry Association is?
Sure. We consider ourselves a true sort of umbrella organization for all of the horticulture and landscape industry. That includes everyone from retail garden centers to wholesale growers, landscape contractors, irrigation contractors, floriculture growers, allied folks, pots and fertilizers, soils, that type of thing. And over the years, some of the sister organizations that represented some of those segments of the industry have actually merged in with us so that we're able to represent the whole diverse industry in Georgia. And it's funny, when you introduce Georgia as the peach state, the green industry is a much larger commodity than peaches ever have been in the state, and there's a lot of other commodities now that have surpassed peaches too. But
they sure name the streets in Atlanta: Peachtree North, Peachtree South, Peachtree Southeast. Every street there is, I think, mentioned in peach.
Yeah, we've tried to get them to change that. But, we're still working on it.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Chris, that's not so dissimilar to what's happening in Florida, where everybody thought for years the citrus industry was the largest producer in or of revenue in the state, and it's really ornamental flowers and plants and that industry in terms of dollars.
Yep, same here. It's I think we're the 4th largest commodity group. Georgia is actually the poultry kind of capital of the world, and they count poultry, chicken, and eggs as the first 2 categories. I think that's completely unfair, and that could be combined into one. And if you do that, then we come in the top 3.
Even more than Arkansas on the chickens?
I believe so.
Wow.
It's a lot of poultry.
Wow.
A lot of poultry.
Wow.
What other organizations are affiliated with the Georgia Green Industry Association? I mean, who do you work with? And
we work really closely on the national level with American Hort.
Okay.
We are the state affiliate for the Irrigation Association. There used to be a standalone Georgia Irrigation Association, but they merged in with us in 2009, I believe. And then we work closely. There's another green industry organization, the Urban Ag Council. We work closely with them. And then we found it's much to our benefit to to work with and be cooperative with all of ag. So we certainly work a lot with our Georgia Farm Bureau and the American Farm Bureau. Then we have an agribusiness council as well. So, working cooperatively with those folks, it just means we have a lot more friends at the table.
Sure.
Than trying to go about it ourselves.
Yeah, sounds like there's a diversified group of interested groups, and those I'm sure that drive have a large part in driving your agenda. Is that right?
There are, for the most part, the groups, at least in my experience, have always worked together. Even if you look at the larger organizations like Farm Bureau, they have within their membership certainly members within the green industry. They have a green industry council. And so typically our interests are pretty closely aligned. And there's always been that spirit of cooperation. And it's funny, I kind of describe it, the little clown car at the circus where there's 30 clowns that come out of a little Volkswagen bus.
Yeah, right.
I think the ag lobby is the same thing. It's, no matter where you go across the state, it's that same group of folks. But it's good to have friends.
Yeah, you absolutely, you can say that. How long? You gave us a little bit of background about yourself and how you got into it. What's the organization's history? What is the Georgia Green Industries Association's history? I mean, when did it start? When was its genesis? We
trace our roots all the way back to the 1930s as far as a formal organization with the Georgia Nurserymen's Association. The big coming together was in the early 1980s, which saw the merger of the Nurserymen's Association and the Landscape Association, that really brought the industry together to advocate and promote the industry, and really took that to a new level where it had never been before. And then subsequently, like I said, we've added some other organizations along the way. So really, we're coming up on almost 40 years of representing the whole of the industry in the state.
Where do you see, or what do you see as some of the current water challenges that Georgia has today? And then we'll get into maybe what do you see for the future. But I'm sure over the years you've had your share of less water, and what do you do about it?
Yeah, the interesting thing for Georgia, Georgia's been here a long time, and over the course of 200 years, I don't think water scarcity ever crossed anyone's minds. We're blessed with, anywhere between 40 and 50 inches of rain on an annual basis. We've got creeks and streams and rivers and reservoirs, lots of different sources. There are obviously lots of farm ponds and man-made impoundments over the last 50 years that have added to that. And it really took that first drought that really threatened supply. We had it in 2000 and then again in 2002. The worst one happened in 2007 to 2009. Mm-hmm. And you had a city of 5 million people in metro Atlanta, that certain parts of the city and some of the suburbs, they were down to 30 or 45 days of drinking water supply. So they're having to make plans on how to ration water and who should get water and who shouldn't. And so, first and foremost, and it's ironic, we've had 2 inches of rain just today, and it's been a wet year. So that availability is our greatest challenge, but possibly even greater than that is just the awareness and creating the awareness within the population that water is a finite resource. Those droughts certainly went a long ways towards doing that, but when you turn around the next year and you have ample rain, and it's funny, the drought of 2007 to 2009 was literally brought to a close in one day, where Atlanta received almost 20 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. So creating a consistent level of awareness and, conservation and efficiency mindset in folks is probably our biggest ongoing challenge.
Do you find it's easier to start with I know adults are adults already, but I mean, do you also start at a lower age, like maybe elementary school, and try to push it through that way, or?
Yeah, and that's that we're hopeful that next generation is probably going to be one of our greatest advocates simply because they're more aware. And then during those drought periods, it was kind of common to hear, that we're trying to preach the little things to folks, whether it be turn the water off while you're brushing your teeth, or only wash clothes when you have a full load. And more often than not, it was the kids that were fussing at the parents. Hey, cut the water off while you're brushing your teeth, or So that next generation is certainly, hopefully, going to be more aware than some of us have in the past.
Have there been many laws passed throughout Georgia through the different water agencies and cities of sustainability and using water more efficient?
There have, and those droughts were certainly a wake-up call.
Sure.
Perhaps the largest piece of legislation, there was a Water Stewardship Act that passed in 2010 that was kind of an all-encompassing water bill, and it focused on everything from water loss within water systems to water use reduction. Certainly there were rules put in place for landscape and outdoor irrigation. And fortunately, we were in a position at that point to be able to educate our legislators and our regulators on not only the importance that the industry has economically in the state, but the importance that the industry has environmentally in the state. Sure. And that was our biggest challenge back then, was people just weren't aware of that. So we really had to start at ground level to impress both of those facts upon our elected officials, and it was a big challenge. We feel we're there now, but it's still an ongoing effort, and we're working with the City of Atlanta has a metro water district, and we're working with them now, for example, on an ordinance for larger landscapes and commercial landscapes that'll be over a certain size of square footage that will, we're hopeful that will include certified irrigation planners or designers will have to be used on the front side, as well as certified installers on the install side. So it's an ongoing effort, and it's something that will never go away. We realize that it'll be an ongoing fight for the long haul.
Is there currently any statewide certification requirements for installers or designs or things like that already in place in the state of Georgia?
There are not, and we pushed really hard for certification requirements, and our timing, in hindsight, was a little rough. We started pushing for that just about the time the Tea Party came in, and Georgia swung from being a traditionally Democrat state to a Republican, and the movement was towards smaller government and less government in our lives, and the certification battle at that time was kind of a non-starter. So we've tried to go other routes. We have, after a long time trying to get this through, we finally gotten a state extension specialist that's going to focus on outdoor irrigation. We have a certified landscape professional program, that's voluntary, and a certified plant professional program. And this new person is being tasked with developing a certified irrigation professional program. So there are, obviously there are lots of certifications out there now.
Sure.
We don't necessarily want to go and reinvent the wheel.
Right.
But we can take and use from those existing programs to come up with a program that fits Georgia.
Right, including programs through the Irrigation Association, with whom you're already in league. So at the state level, Chris, what's the agency that controls the drought monitoring and drought responses? Is that the Environmental Protection Division in the state of Georgia?
That is, and we've got a really good working relationship with those folks. It's kind of ironically, in the summer of 2017, we got really dry again, and actually came within a few days of going to an outdoor water ban. And it was very ironic. We were actually at a board meeting, and I got a call from the director of the EPD, and he said, hey, we've got to go to a ban within a week, and we begged and pleaded, and I don't want to imply that we changed his mind. I think he was going to wait a few days anyways, but fortunately, it started raining that week, and we were able to miss that. But
Well,
what we learned during the heat of the drought was, those folks have a job. Water providers certainly have a job. It's to provide drinking water for public safety and whatnot. And I think all of us learned that when we're under the gun and the pressure was high, that was not the time to try to develop drought policy and conservation policy. So all sides have continued to work together to bring policy that not only saves and conserves water, but also helps support the industry.
Yeah, I think at the height of the drought there, everybody in the nation, if they watch TV at any time or watch a podcast, right? I mean, your Lake Lanier there became the poster child for the state of Georgia. Everybody could see all these docks laying on the the sandy bottom, and it was something to see.
Hey, states that are back east, like you said, you get a lot of rain. Do you have in the state of Georgia, or maybe within it, some of the water agencies have regulations to use a rain sensor? So when it rains, it turns their irrigation system off. I mean, is that a big thing that you have out there?
We do. It is actually a state code that requires a rain sensor on all irrigation systems. What we find is enforcement of that is actually done on a county-by-county level, and it's traditionally a building inspector who, to say it nicely, probably wouldn't know a rain sensor if it landed in his lap. So, like anything else in some of the metropolitan areas, it's more strictly enforced.
Now is that for specifically for new construction?
That is for new construction. Yeah.
What about any rebates for? I always look at, like here in California, the already installed base is really the bigger challenge to do that. I didn't know if you have some rebates for the people who have homes that maybe are pre that legislation.
Yeah, we've seen some, and it's predominantly been in the Metro Atlanta area. And so what our hope is as the Metro Atlanta adopts more ordinances, becomes a little more advanced in their planning, that those same ordinances and rules can be picked up by these other smaller communities that may not have the resources, frankly, to do some of those things. But our message to them, and what we've all learned, is by stretching out the life of that infrastructure that they have to supply water, it's going to save them money in the long run as well.
Sure.
So, it's a slow go, but we're getting there.
Yeah, there's a lot of other implications to a drought, I think, than a lot of people tend to look deeply into it and think about. Insufficient irrigation has economic impacts as well on crops and insect infestation, things like that, right? Other things that are ramifications of a drought that can hit a state hard, and we've seen that here, certainly in the West, in California, a couple of times, and I know that I've read a few articles that Georgia and other parts of the Southeast were affected economically at the height of the drought that you were referencing earlier.
Oh yeah, it had a massive impact on our industry. We had a study performed by the University of Georgia that it cost the industry upwards of 30,000 or 40,000 jobs, and
wow.
It's several $1 million per month,
Sure.
And this went on for 2 years. When you look at the larger agricultural industry, and agriculture remains Georgia's number one industry, they were certainly hit hard. And the worst part about it was we had our drought, and that kind of led directly into the recession. So it was kind of a 1-2 hit that was pretty dramatic, and it impacted all segments of agriculture.
Yeah, sure. So let me ask you just get a little forward thinking here and look down the road a piece and look at what do you see as some of the water challenges for Georgia in the future?
One of the big ones, we are embattled in a 30-year plus ongoing legal battle, Georgia and Florida. There's also a Georgia and Alabama case, but the Georgia-Florida case has progressed to the Supreme Court. It was heard actually this past January by the Supreme Court of the United States. It was kind of an interesting process. They appointed a special master to handle the case leading up to when it was actually presented to the justices. that went on for a couple of years. He presented his report to the justices, and they essentially punted it back to him and said, keep trying. So he was actually an 87-year-old retired judge from Maine, and when they punted it back, I think he said thanks but no thanks. So they have appointed a new special master, who ironically enough is a judge from Arizona. I don't know why we can't find anybody closer than Maine or Arizona to hear this case, but long story short, we're expecting it to be another 3 to 4 years before we'll have hopefully a final resolution. Florida has essentially asked for an across-the-board cut in Georgia's water use because there's one river system that flows across the Georgia border into Florida, into the Apalachicola Bay, and that system starts in the North Georgia mountains and flows through Atlanta and then flows through southwest Georgia, which is where predominantly all of our farmland is. So I can't see anything quite as draconian happening as what Florida has asked for, but it's certainly a possibility. So that has a huge potential impact on us all. The good news is, in the meantime, and as a response to that case, and or maybe as a wake-up call from that case and from the drought, Georgia has made a lot of strides in improving our efficiency in everything from residential use to outdoor irrigation, and then agriculture as well has made a lot of efforts in improving their efficiency. So for us, the challenge is to continue to try to get that message to the citizens of Georgia. The good news is Metro Atlanta is using 10% less water than it was in 2002. We can't take credit for all that, but normally we do. And so we like to think that people are watering more efficiently and going about it with a more conservation mindset. So we've just got to keep hammering that message home.
And you have a lot of manufacturers in the appliance business, such as dishwashers and machine washers and faucets and toilets and things. I mean, they're all pressing. I mean, it's hard pressed to go to a big box store, at least here, I guess anywhere in the country, and go in and say you do not want a low flow toilet. You can't find one.
No, and you haven't been able to find one here in a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's good, and I think it stirred enough competition between the different companies around the country to help develop stuff, and things they never thought they could do. Just like on smart controllers, everybody when it first came to the market roughly 15 years ago, it was a new strange thing, and people even today still don't understand how it works. They'll have it programmed, and they normally water, let's just say, every 3 days for 10 minutes on grass, whatever. And then one day on one of those days they see, hey, it didn't come on, so hey, honey, go out and turn it up. You gotta go turn the thing on, and they don't realize that it measures what needs to be watered and what doesn't need to be watered. But can you share with maybe some upcoming events that you guys are sponsoring or activities that you're doing down there?
Yeah, we're working on we do an annual. Our big flagship event is our annual Winter Green Conference and Trade Show. It features, we've got 250 exhibitors and 3 full days of education. That happens each January on the north side of Atlanta. So we are deep in the throes of planning for that. We've just finished up our education track planning, and happy to report we've got an irrigation track with several different sessions. We're really happy again that UGA and Extension is partnering with us with this new point person for outdoor irrigation. So what we hope is to be able to expand those educational opportunities now that we've got those resources, and do a lot more trainings. And I believe, last time I heard, we've already got 6 of those planned for calendar year 2019. So just taking that message out to the masses.
Excellent. So how can our listeners contact your organization, get more information? Because what we try to do here is we started in California, we're moving across the country and across the world. We want everybody to know what's happening about water all over, because without water we don't live. So how can they get some more information? Where do they go?
Real simple. The website is www.ggia.org. Phone number is 888-GET GGIA. And if you want to email me, it's Chris@GGIA.
Hey, that's great. All right, well, Chris, we really appreciate you coming on the show. And, I had met you a year ago in Florida. And our goal, like I said, is to find out what's happening all over the world and in the country and see what we can find out.
Yep.
So,
thanks for coming on, Chris.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate what you do and keep it up.
All right, pleasure to have you. Thanks.
And to our listeners, we'll be live next week from Las Vegas at the Smart Water Innovation Show. And the thing that you have to do that we tell you every single week is to think blue. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you next week at Live.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
This is an NBC News special report. The Kavanaugh hearing. Democrats and Republicans are finished pressing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh in a Senate hearing. Many Republicans used their time for questioning instead of yielding it to the special prosecutor as they did before during the Dr. Ford question.